Is this one of the most beautiful shawls you've ever seen or no? I feel like the answer must be yes, because just look at this. Hey, my name is May and this is Mrs. Shank Knits. Okay, so I have gushed about this pattern before. Once in real time on my Instagram while I was knitting it, and then later when I started knitting the second one, which I think that alone kind of shows how amazing this pattern is. I knit it twice, pretty much back to back, and then I talked about it again and again in a couple of my knitting podcasts since I finished the second one. So it was designed by Soohyun Nam. It's called Héloïse, named after a 12th century French scholar slash philosopher slash nun. Like, what? So in Sue's words, it is to celebrate the life of a bold and free-minded woman ahead of her time. Okay, so the pattern is a semicircular shawl, as you saw, and in the description of the pattern itself, it's described as a skill builder and a gentle introduction to slip stitches. And let me tell you, this pattern is magic. I've been knitting for a very long time and I have done all kinds of different things, but this pattern makes it look like I am knitting something far more complicated than I actually am. Like, really soak in these details, okay? It is gorgeous. I mean, like, obviously you see the finished product, so clearly I am capable of knitting all of this because I did twice, as you recall. One of my teenage daughters actually loved this one so much that she borrowed it a little too frequently, so I cast on one for her to have as her own. So yeah, I knit it, but to me anyway, it looks like a lot of these stitches are just more difficult than they were in reality, especially some of these guys down here. As for skill level, I think Sue says this is for the adventurous beginner, so it's not like it's like so simple you could just pick it up as a first project. However, the attention to detail that was given to choosing each of these stitches and how they all work together is an achievement in helping you as the knitter have a completed project that you can really feel good about showing off. Like, there are some tricky stitches here. I'm not going to gloss over that. There were some stitches that I had to like watch and rewatch the videos for to make sure that I was doing them right. But the really neat thing about it, and maybe where the concept of this pattern being like a skill builder comes from, is that once you get the hang of the stitch at the beginning of the row, it's all you're doing for the whole row. So you do a first few stitches at the beginning of every row, really gently and slowly, just to kind of make sure, that you're doing it right. And then you get into a groove and you're just doing this stitch literally like 100 times or more. It's actually really fun and engaging. And then before you know it, you're at the end of that row and then you do it all over again for the next row. Like some new thing to kind of wrap your brain around and master. All the color work here is produced with slip stitches. So it might look like color work, but you're never actually knitting with two colors. You're also not catching floats because there's no stranded color work. So the back doesn't have, any floats that need catching or whatever, because it's not really color work, really. It's all slip stitches. So anyway, you're just knitting with one color all the time, and then you end up with both colors on some rows because of these slip stitches. And there are times when you're working with stitches from different rows, like down here. Sometimes you go back and you're working with stitches from a previous row. It's really neat. And the lace. So this lace is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's so beautiful. And on my second Héloïse, I added an extra lace section, and I love the look of that too. Stitch markers are your friend in this section. I would not even try to do this section without placing a stitch marker before every repeat. But with the stitch markers, it's not really an issue, so just use them. It always amazes me how yarn overs are so simple and yet so transformative at the same time. And this section is such a perfect finish to the shawl. This little part right here, I think, is my favorite. These little wraps that happen here. It's one of those things that happens over the course of more than one row. So you see it coming together based off other stitches. The first time I made this and I saw this magic come together, I was like bewildered. It's really neat. I will link all the details of the pattern by Soohyun and the kit from Less Traveled Yarns and all the socials so you can keep up with all that. As always, thanks so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos and follow along on Instagram for daily knitting inspiration. I am Mrs. Shank Knits over there. Thanks again, guys. Bye.